interesting thing about revisiting a score like this 14 years after I last approached it is to try and remember what I did and why I did it, and how I arrived at what I arrived at. I remember I wanted a fairly orchestral feel to the score, so I wanted to use real orchestral samples, and I came up with this basic string sample, but I needed some thematic material as well, and I wanted something which had a kind of pagan, vaguely Russian feel to it. So obviously Stravinsky, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, and I wanted two main themes. I wanted a kind of march, a weird march, both for the Russians and for the herbivores when they appear, and I wanted something which sort of churned and rolled like the sea, and had this kind of undercurrents feel to it. So I came up with this string figure which I used as a basis. And then I wanted to develop that, and I took the first three notes of that, which are these three notes, and I thought, let's make them into a chord. Doesn't sound very nice, so let's take off the bottom note and put it up the top. So we've now got a chord. It's a F minor major 7 for anyone who's interested. But we needed a bass note for it, so let's put a bass note in. That's horrible. That sounds like it. So I remember arriving at that chord, and it uses the same notes as the undercurrents thing, so that's great. So it's got thematic continuity. These are silly games you play with yourself when you're doing this kind of thing. I could then develop that further, so I had this chord, let's do this with it. And suddenly we've got a march. So I've got my thematic material, I can start writing. Need to come up with other sounds, of course, so how am I going to develop that? And I came up with a number of sounds I wanted to use alongside that. Had a tremolo violin sample. This is actually the one I'm using on the special edition. It's a rather better sample than I used on the original. Other sounds I've kept very much the same. So it's a very grainy, rather lumpy voice sample, but it has the flavour, and I didn't want to replace it, so I've kept that. A harp. And a strange sort of string wash, which is just one of those weird orchestral samples. Various waterphone type noises. Snare drums. I've added a horn to this score. Even glissando harps, oboe, trombones, some low tremolo strings, bassoon, bass clarinet, beloved of Dudley Simpson. So one builds oneself an orchestra, and it's all laid out on the keyboards here and the computer, so I just click a sound on the computer and then I can play it. And then it's all composed into the computer and then hopefully mixed down into something which will sound vaguely entertaining.